When things get really hard, I always fall back on positivity. If you can just stay positive, just have a good day, number one thing, hands down. What's going on, everybody? My name's Jake. Welcome to the second video. We're going to kind of jump right into a mini series. So, what I want to talk about are just some of the jobs that I've had. I've had a lot of very unique jobs, a lot of jobs that people probably will never do or wouldn't want to do. So I just wanted to bring you into what I experienced with these jobs, some of the skills that I learned, some things I learned not to do, and just hopefully you can grab some insight out of it. All right, so the first one, now this wasn't my first job. My first job was when I was 12 years old. I was a beach boy at a local beach resort here in town. I won't get into that one. After that, I worked in the kitchen for several years, but I also won't get into that one. I'm going to jump ahead to when I was 20 years old. So when I was 20 years old, I signed up to do door-to-door sales. Very difficult to do. I learned so much from this, though. I would never take it for granted because I honestly can say that this was the baseline for developing my sales skills. So every morning you'd start out with a meeting with your team. You'd go over different avenues of how to do sales, how to stay positive, all this different types of stuff. I found it very valuable, and although I hated going out there and knocking on doors and hearing no 100 times a day, it really helped me develop that thick skin of just being told no, having the door slammed in your face, and moving on to the next house with a smile on your face. So learning positivity is probably the number one thing. I have used this throughout my different career paths, and when things get really hard, I always fall back on positivity. If you can just stay positive, just have a good day, number one thing, hands down. If you can learn to just be positive and try to get those negative thoughts out of your head, because negative thoughts is kind of like gas in a room. It fills the whole room. Negative thoughts fill your head very quickly. So if you can just realize that you're having a negative thought and just move on from that negative thought and try to be more positive, it's going to help you out throughout the day. Something else that I found doing door to door is when you have this positive aura about you, people pick up on that, and people are more inclined to talk to you. You know, you crack a joke, you do something like that just to kind of get people laughing. You got that good energy about you. People are going to be more inclined to hear you pass the door knock, right? So that was very important. Another thing when it came to that was, like, kind of just touching on that, is when you get that sale, that first sale of the day, and if you get it really early, that's going to put you in a really good mood. So this kind of goes in with all forms of sales, right? If you're doing B2B sales, B2C, phone calls, door to door, in person, whatever it might be, when you get that first sale, I always want you to build on that, because once you get rolling, it's incredibly easy to keep it going because it almost builds that confidence in you, right? So confidence builds off positivity, and people feed into that and feed off of it. So when you get that first sale, you're like, hell yeah, I feel on top of the world right now. Let's go for another. You know, might take you 20 no's, but let's say you get another one. Now, don't stop there. Keep going, especially if you're an independent contractor. You know, a lot of the times you're going to be like, oh yeah, I hit my quota, but don't stop there, because it just feels like it keeps getting easier and easier because you can start using that Jones effect or whatever it might be. Yeah, just that confidence, that positivity, that's going to help you the most. Don't stop at your quota. Keep going, because when you hit your quota, you feel good. When you feel good, other people are going to tell that you feel good. But bringing it back to positivity a little bit, people can tell when you're in a positive mood. I don't like to be in a negative mood. I try to push aside the negative days. I would much rather have positive days and be in a positive mood for no reason. So if you're the type of person that kind of just wakes up in a negative mood, I want you to try and just be in a positive mood for the day. Find things to be positive about. Affirmations, think about the things that make you happy, the things that you want, the things that you believe that you are, because you might as well be in a positive mood over a bad mood, especially if you have nothing to be in a bad mood about. So within this door-to-door company, I was at the time the youngest person to move into a manager role. I led my own office of about 15 individuals all doing door to door. It was really cool. This is what I worked my way up into. I'll take a little sidetrack here. So here's a little story about when I was doing door to door. It was around Christmas time. It was 7 p.m., so it was pitch black at this time. Most people had their Christmas lights up. When you're walking up to the door, you could see the Christmas tree through the window. And I'll never forget, I went to go knock on this one door and feeling like a little bad about myself. I was like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And I'll never forget, you could kind of, not that I'm peeking in these windows, but you just naturally, when you're walking up to the door and somebody has their blinds wide open, you're going to be knocking on that door anyways. You kind of see through the window, and it was that picturesque moment of you got the whole family sitting around the fireplace, probably playing games or telling stories or something like that. Christmas tree is lit up. And I remember going up to knock on this door, and while I was waiting for them to answer, I just remember thinking to myself, man, what am I doing right now? Like, what is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. I need to get going. I need to move up or do something else completely, because I felt like my life was flashing before my eyes, like I wasn't truly doing what I set out to do, and I was just getting comfortable. I had learned the position. I was getting good at it. So that's when I decided I need to strive for something else, because I want a life like theirs, playing games, in this beautiful house, whatever. So back to my old story about moving up, being the youngest in the company to do it. It felt really good. People thought I was 28, 30 years old when I was only 20. A lot of the people I was hiring were either in college, had more education than me, or were older than me, right? And I loved that. I loved conducting the interviews. It was a ton of fun. I got to set up my own business. I felt cool as a 20-year-old with his own business. I ended up getting it to a point where I left the city I was in to move closer back to my hometown and open up a second office. And at the time, the building that I had my office in was the highest in the city, and I felt like I was on top of the world, 11th floor, overlooking the lakes. It was awesome. I felt awesome. And it just got to a point, though, where I stopped enjoying it, and there was almost a part of me that was worried that I was going to knock on a door and it would be somebody that I knew, and there was almost that embarrassment that came with it. And I think that's a reason why I want to do this is you get to a certain point where you stop giving a shit about what people think about you. And I think that's really important that you figure out at an earlier age. And I think that's a reason why I'm trying to do these videos, is just to put myself out there. Because at the end of the day, you're just trying to progress your life and do things that are best for you. But anyways, I was young, naive. I didn't think that way back then. And what ended up happening was I had built this team. There was about 10 of us. And it got to a point where I figured out, well, I can make money off of them. I'm not going to go out and do the work. So rather than leading by example, I just sat back and would run the workshops, and I would go home and do nothing, or I would drop them off in their neighborhood and pick them back up. But I wasn't doing the work. And that was one thing that I would definitely say was to my detriment. That was a hard lesson to learn, because when people realize that you're not doing the work, that's when they stop believing in you. And that's when morale dies. And when morale dies in sales, sales die. And immediately when that happened, people started leaving, because they need to be making money in order to support themselves, support their family, whatever that is. And very quickly that venture died. And I think it was for the best. I quickly realized that this is not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life. I gained a lot of valuable knowledge, and I am super happy for the people that brought me to where I got with that. And I will never forget these valuable skills that I had learned. So, what were some of the valuable lessons that I learned, just to kind of recap? So, number one, to this day, it's positivity. I'm 31 years old. This venture was about 11 years ago. That's my number one rule, is always be positive. If something bugs you, don't let it bug you for more than an hour. Get over it. Just be positive, move forward. You're going to find such an impact in your life just from thinking in this way. Okay, number two. So it would probably be that hearing no 100 times in a day. You just got to build the thick skin. Don't let it get under your skin. Move on to the next thing. And because, well, especially in sales, right? A lot of the time it is a game of numbers. It is a skill, but as most people know, it is a game of numbers and you're going to hear no a lot. So just accept that, move on, because the sale could be the next person that you talk to. When things get rolling, don't stop going, because people feel that confidence in you. They don't know how many sales you've made in a day, but if you stop early, you're missing out on sales. So keep that going. Okay, I think that's going to wrap up this job. A lot of lessons I learned, a lot of great information, things that I've carried on moving forward. I really hope that somebody can get something from this. If you have any questions, please comment below. Message me. I would love to chat with people. Yeah. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for episode 2.